I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're journeying into the heart of the American West with Danny Arnold's riveting novel, Bad Cat Jones, Former Slaves Pioneering Journey West. This powerful story not only charts the perilous trek of former slaves seeking a new beginning in Colorado post-Civil War, but also delves into the deep bond between Cat Jones and the son of a plantation owner against the backdrop of America's most tumultuous times. The author crafts a narrative filled with danger, loyalty, and the relentless pursuit of freedom. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank our team at Bookside Press for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Danny, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to talking to you. How did you ever come up with the idea of the story of Bad Cat Jones?
Well, it was 25 years in the making, and I had to connect a few dots to get to the point of starting the novel. But I grew up on a plantation in North Louisiana. My first wage-paying job, I was 8 years old. I was a water boy in the cotton patch. So I grew up, and most of the hands were black. So that's who I grew up with. And so that's one dot.
Yeah.
And then as I got older, I began to appreciate them and their skills and ingenuity and all that a whole lot more. And then I began to read about what we know as the Wild West of the cowboy. That did not start until after the Civil War. During the Civil War, the Longhorns ran wild, the cattle ran wild, and then afterwards, people migrated out and started gathering those Longhorns. Well, I read that many of the Western historians believe that at least a fourth of those cowboys were black, and maybe up to a third. So that's another dot. And then I read that there were black communities formed, and particularly in Kansas and Oklahoma, a few in Texas, and a few in Colorado. And I read the other day that one of them is still in existence, one of those communities. So I put those dots together and I started thinking the people I knew on that plantation, they could make that trip out west after the Civil War if they had a little financial support. I mean, they were capable of doing it. And so when I started talking about the idea to my wife and friends, again, that was 25 years ago. And of course, I was in my career and didn't have time to write at the time. And so finally, when COVID hit, that's when I started writing, and really enjoyed writing the book. And there was a few surprises along the way, but interesting surprises.
Let's give the folks an overview of what the book's about.
Okay. Bad Cat Jones is a character. I call him the main character, and he is in fact a composite of two men I knew older than me when I was growing up, two black men that I admired and respected. So I kind of put them together to form Bad Cat Jones. Now, Bad Cat Jones was a slave, and he was brought into the plantation house because his mother was bought to be the nanny to a child that was Bad Cat's age, and he was the son of the plantation owner. So they grew up together in the big house and got to be fast friends. And unfortunately, when the white son went into the Civil War, he got killed the last week of the Civil War. So Cat went back to the plantation. Well, the plantation had been visited by Yank soldiers, and they burned it and killed the plantation owner and his wife. So all the hands, they hid in the woods, waiting to see what would happen. And the plantation owner's sister was happened to be visiting, and they hid her, so she survived. Miss Lily, we called her. And the two of them, Cat and Lily, they're the ones that really led the people out to Colorado, as it turned out. Uh, the owner actually planned to take his slaves west before the war ended, and he had the money, he had the big wagons and everything ready to go, but he got killed. And so they fulfilled his vision, and that was not unusual, by the way. Many slave owners did that, moved to Texas. So then the journey, when they took off from North Louisiana, they went west to Dallas, then went south down around the Fort Stockton area in Texas, and captured longhorns and mustangs, and then herded them up. And the way we wrote it in the book, about 6 months before Goodnight Loving actually made the same trip, which is now known as the Goodnight Loving Trail. And they got to what's now the Comanche National Grasslands in southeastern Colorado. But again, the whole book is about the journey, the trials and tribulations that they encountered and overcome to actually get out there, excuse me, to their promised land. And that's why we called it Freedom Town. That's what they named it.
Amazing. It's an epic journey. It's a great story. It's a great adventure. It's rooted in reality as well, which is what makes it so intriguing also. Have you envisioned this perhaps as a movie or a TV series?
Well, that would be a dream. And let me throw this in on the side. That book created a series of books, and we'll have number 9 and number 10 published in a couple of months.
Wow.
So they actually established it at the end of the journey. It ended with them arriving at what's now the Comanche National Grassland. The other books talk about how they worked and built a thriving community out there in this near desert, as it turns out. It's not real grasslands, but they made it work. And so it's really fascinating going from a group of it's not destitute because there was Miss Lily brought money, so she was the financial backing that helped to do that. Uh, the hmm?
Series.
Well, just to kind of get away from that, there's a whole series and of 10 books, and
Amazing.
there was and remember the first one was published in 21. I was 72 years old when it was published, and since then we've written the others, and eight total of 8 are published, and then we actually jumped 150 years to create a series of 7 contemporary westerns anchored or based on the Bad Cat Jones and Freedom Town series. Their descendants picked up some of the descendants in modern times and wrote a 7-book series for it.
So you've got a lot of material out there for any director or producer to work with. Sounds like it could be a series that runs for years, considering there's so many installments, right?
Well, yes, it actually could, and we've even talked about in our dreams about the kind of actors that would play certain roles and things like that. There would be some great roles for African American actors and actresses in the book. I mean, you can tell that probably from Bad Cat Jones.
Yeah, who would play Bad Cat Jones?
Well, the ones I think about are a little bit old. Denzel Washington.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. A young Denzel Washington, right?
That would be perfect. And there's several others out there that could do the role because, his name is Cat Jones. He's got cat eyes and some green flecks from an ancestor in his eyes. But the reason that the word bad was added is he was a bad dude to tackle. He was kind of to me, he's kind of a black Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
The way, the things that he did and everything. And for Miss Lily, Maureen O'Hara, when she was a young actress, would have been ideal for it.
Exactly, exactly. You can put together your dream team cast using actors from every era and just find a young version of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Hey,
great. That'd be great.
by the way, I stumbled on an interesting, I'm gonna call it a trick. because I'd done a lot of writing before I started this, but it was all academic writing. My career was in higher education and published a lot of textbooks and things like that. Well, there's one key there. There's no dialogue in a textbook.
Right.
So that was one of my fears is, can I even write dialogue? And what I stumbled on is when there's a scene where dialogue is needed, I pretend I'm watching a movie and write down or type up what those people are saying as I'm watching this movie. And I found out later that at least some other novelists do the same thing. They pretend they're watching a movie.
Yeah, I think that's a great technique to utilize, and also having a idea in your mind, a prototype of what the actor looks like, gives you an idea of his or her personality and gives you
Exactly.
an idea of how he or she might express themselves in that situation. I think that's why it's such a riveting book, because it all feels very real, from the settings to the story to the dialogue. The name of the book is Bad Cat Jones, Former Slaves Pioneering Journey West. It's a powerful story that charts the trek of former slaves seeking a new beginning in Colorado post-Civil War. It's an amazing book. You won't want to put it down, but once you do, there are lots of other installments in this series that are ready to go as well. Danny, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you as well. Enjoyed our talk. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.